Hi, good evening and welcome to yet another week's installment of the Minority Report. I want to say thank you for your continued support that we've been experiencing from you, our faithful viewers, our faithful supporters, and I often love to say that the only direction we can head is up as we continue to promote good governance principles, as we continue to hold this administration accountable, and as we continue to provide you, the listening public and the viewing public, with the necessary information that you can make informed decisions. For those of you who are viewing this program, you can also share the link for the Tobago Updates website. The program is aired live as well. The Tobago Updates YouTube channel. And what we're looking at most often is the Tobago Updates Facebook page. This program is also broadcast live on M&E TV for those of you who like to go the old-fashioned way and stick to the TV channels. We encourage your comments, we encourage your recommendations. So if you're willing to do so, you can send your messages to the WhatsApp contact number. That is 284-6597, 284-6597. And as we aired last week, we also have another number that I'll provide as the show continues in the event that we open the lines up, so you can also have a call-in segment. And that number is 356-8833, 356-8833. And I'm going to let you know when we are going to be opening up the lines so that you can participate and you can also share, probably to add to some of what is being said. This evening I want to just do a bit of highlights. We want to send condolences out to the family and friends of musical talent out of Tobago, Purnell Wilchester, a.k.a. Kabasi or Kabesi. We know that we would have seen in the news this week. We've got news of his passing, and we really want to say to his family, stay strong. We want to stand in support of, and again, as with anything, if there is a need that can be assisted, we want to be able to extend that level of assistance. So feel free to call on the Office of the Minority Leader. In news again of congratulations this time, we have Tobago schools make it to Tuco First Citizens National Junior Calypso Monarch Finals to be held on Monday the 13th. That's next Monday at the Queen's Park, Savannah. We saw Diashe Saul of Palatovia Anglican Primary School, Naomi Waldrop and Clarissa Gill of Signal Hill Secondary School, and Kokis Davison of Bishop's High School, Tobago. Congratulations to you all, and we know that you are definitely going to do Tobago proud. Congratulations also goes out to Ella Christopher on becoming the country's very first female police commissioner. And again, we see women actually breaking barriers, and every area we're seeing women coming forward and really stepping up to the leadership roles and positions as it ideally should be. In news of culture, Tobago Cats and Jammers, I mean, what can be said of this team? I listened to an electrifying performance on Sunday, and having heard their performance, I didn't want to hear anybody else, because I was comfortable in my mind that Cats and Jammers was walking away with the first place. And so we have Cats and Jammers leading the battle on Sunday in the finals of the medium conventional bands. And we saw other bands that would have qualified, Dixieland and NGC Steel Explosion. We want to say really congratulations to the Tobago bands, really doing Tobago proud and representing down there in Trinidad. And we are confident that they're going to be taking it home as the finals kick off. Congratulations also goes out in the big band category, or the large band category, to BP Renegades, who topped that category. And the arrangement, again, Tobago in the news, Duvon Stewart doing Tobago really proud. Alexandra Kumar a student of Scarborough RC, has been crowned the National Under-12 Female Chess Champion. So we see Tobago really making headway and making its mark, not just in culture and the creative arts, but we see education, everything, sports, all across the board. And we want to continue to encourage those persons who continue to put themselves forward, make that effort to really apply their trade and expose their talent, and in the process of doing so, definitely making Tobago proud. This evening we have a very interesting show, as you would have seen in our ad. It's a special edition show where I know we would have made an announcement last week. So we really want persons to log in, share the link, share the live. We're going to take a short break where we pay some bills, and when we get back, I'll introduce our guest in studio and we head right into it. So this evening, call a friend, call a relative, share the link, share the live, stay logged on, stay locked on, and we'll be right back.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Good morning, good morning, put a smile on your...
And we are back. This evening, as I indicated, we have a special edition program. And with me in studio is none other than the political leader of the People's National Movement, Tobago Council, Mr. Ansel Dennis, who would have graced us in a couple programs back. And I know that many of us have been eagerly awaiting some announcements that he teased us with, saying that he was going to return as the year begins to bring some stirring information. Mr. Dennis, political leader, welcome to the program.
Good evening, Marilyn. Good evening to our listeners and viewers across Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, and the entire world, because of course this link is available worldwide. Eh?
Yes, it is.
So it's a pleasure to be here once again. This evening I'm here with mixed emotions. Of course, I am happy to be in the land of the living, happy to be a Tobagonian, blessed to be a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. But I'm also disappointed and sad by some of the developments that have been taking place in Tobago over the last year or so. So I know this evening is a special program, and we should get right into it as we treat with some very important matters. Because, of course, as the political leader of the People's National Movement here in Tobago, I have a responsibility to the people of Tobago to do my part in ensuring that Tobago's development is advanced in a particular way. And therefore, when alarming things come to my attention, because I have a mailbox, I also have several inboxes, Facebook inbox, Instagram inbox, WhatsApp inbox, and information comes to me from time to time, just as information will come to the minority leader and his team. And therefore, we have a responsibility to bring that information to the public domain and also to call on the relevant authorities and the individuals who are required to correct certain things to do so. So I am here this evening, and I really want us to get straight into it by playing the first clip.
Mr. Director.
Come from Trinidad, we welcome you. Investors can come from abroad, we welcome you. But we are operating on a policy of Tobago first. If we have to fix this place called Tobago, we have to start with those from the very household of Tobago and fix our home first. Dance at home before you dance abroad. Our people should never be second-class citizens in their own land. And that's part of the Tobago pride. And I don't care who will want to misconstrue what I say tonight and take it to mean other things. No, I am not preaching racism. I leave that for Sandy, who's struggling with life right now. I am not going to preach classism because I believe all of us are one under God. But I am certainly going to preach Tobago first from a Tobago first platform like the PDP, because Tobago must come first and foremost, and everything we do must be in your best interest. It must never be inimical to your best interest. That's what let me fix this mean.
Of course, there is no longer a PDP administration in place. We have an independent administration. But the promise and the commitment given to Tobago and Tobagonians across the campaign trail of 2 THA elections was Tobago first.
Correct.
This meant that Tobagonians will be placed first, Tobago youth, Tobago elderly, Tobago businesses, Tobago people generally will be placed first. And this also represented a commitment that decisions will be taken that will be in the best interest of Tobago and Tobagonians. And the question has to be asked, where are we today? Has this administration over the last few months placed Tobago's interests first and foremost? And I think the answer clearly is no. And I want us to take the opportunity to discuss the happenings in a couple sectors. And we could start with the construction sector, because I think Tobagonians are quite aware, and a number of Tobagonians have been negatively impacted by what is happening in the construction sector here in Tobago. And we have to do the comparisons. A few months ago, in the last days of the PNM administration, I have some data from just about 6 large contractors on the island in terms of the number of persons that they employed then. And I want to give the numbers. Contractor number 1, 388 persons. Contractor number 2, 129 persons. Contractor number 3, 77 persons. Contractor number 4, 206 persons. Number 5, 72 persons. Number 6, 191 persons. For a total of 1,063 employees that were actively engaged by these contractors at that time. Now, this is not the entire sector. These are just some of the larger contractors on the island, engaged mostly by the THA. Today, those same contractors are employing 17, 39, 8, 17, 9, and 7 individuals respectively, for a total of 97 persons. This means that In those 6 businesses alone, 966 Tobagonians lost employment.
Wow.
966. And again, this is not representative of the entire sector. This is just a sample of information coming from some of the contractors. With the security companies on the island, of course, we have several security companies. We have Rapid Response, we have Dominion, we have MI4, we have MEL4, and a couple others. Here in Tobago, we have several security companies operating. A decision was taken recently by this administration that resulted in some of our security companies in Tobago losing business to the tune of $8 to $9 million per year in business as a result of actions taken by this administration. That, I am told, across those companies in Tobago resulted in unemployment for approximately 60 persons here in Tobago. In addition to that, there are other persons who suffered a reduction in income. So some persons who were working 6 days a week, because of that development, the number of days they now work has been reduced to 3 days per week. So those individuals have suffered a 50% reduction in their income. When we look, of course, at the cultural sector, Tobago's first carnival, first standalone carnival in October, we heard the artists, we heard the creators of masks complaining, we heard Tobago promoters complaining, because again, Tobago's interests and Tobagonians were not protected by this administration. So the question is, after approximately 14, 15 months of this administration led by Farley Augustine, have the people of Tobago been placed first? And I think the honest answer to that is absolutely not. And we have to ask ourselves, how did we get here? Because a number of things were said on the campaign trail in order to win the election, obviously. And I tuned into the Roxborough meeting after the fact, and I heard, some people in Roxborough complaining about unemployment and all those sorts of things. And the Chief Secretary did indicate that the THA is not expected to employ everybody, which I agree with. But we must also mention the fact that this THA administration also took action that resulted in the dismissal of approximately 250 contract employees in the THA.
Yes.
Of course, we had the Community Partnership Unit, we had CPEP, we had some URP persons going home as well, we had the Monitoring and Evaluations Unit, and quietly, apart from those mass firings, quietly, there are some sporadic cases of individuals whose contracts are simply not being renewed by particular secretaries, right? So, yes, we agree that the THA should not employ everybody, but why go around promising the people of Tobago, all the boys on the block, 5,000 jobs will be created in the first 6 months in office, ex gratia for $10,000 and that kind of stuff. So the problem is not really the demands the people are placing on the administration. The problem really is the promises that were made.
Yeah.
Because if you know that you had no intentions of employing 5,000 people within the first 6 months in office, then why promise it? If you know you had no intention of paying $10,000 by Christmas 2022 in ex gratia money, then why promise it? And of course, the new promise is now $1,000. So Tobago and Tobago's interest has not been first. And I will tell you soon which group of individuals have been placed first in this equation. So we could go ahead and play the next clip.
Next clip.
So that if you're in Tobago, you're not producing any construction material. Every piece of material that you purchase, whether it's from a Tobago hardware or not, is building an economy somewhere else. It's not multiplying here.
Right.
What multiplies from that spend, even if you purchase it through a Tobago hardware, it's just the markup they put on. And if you could calculate that as an economist would, when the worker spends that salary, when the businessman reinvests that part of that profit, the economist will tell you that the worker is going to spend on basic necessities first, food, housing, shelter, food, clothing, shelter. And all of that is being produced somewhere else as well. So the economy of Tobago don't benefit from that. When you have a foreign contractor, foreign in this sense, meaning non-Tobago contractor, then the labor, the money you pay in labor, benefits another economy as well. And if it were a non-Tobago contractor, then the management, the money you pay to manage the project, benefits somewhere else as well. So, and so you go along that line, and of course the profit is spirited away. So you end up spending $1 billion and the economy doesn't change in Tobago. And that to me is where the problem is. When you have a strategic intent, because by now that is what it is. It is not lack of capacity or anything like that. After 20 years, you can't argue that. When you have a strategic intent to procure construction services outside of Tobago, then your strategic intent is to build another territory, in this case, Trinidad.
So, what is the strategic intent of Trevor James in particular, and Farley Augustine, and this current administration? And I will tell you, because I just gave the numbers in terms of the people that lost jobs in the construction sector. When we crunch the numbers, Marilyn, we recognize that those individuals that were dismissed, their total salary per month would have been $5.796 million per month. Therefore, the total amount that those persons would have been paid had they still been engaged in employment in the construction sector, had the PNM still been in office, because you would not have taken away those contracts from Tobagonians and given them to Trinidadians. Exactly. So had the PNM been in office, those persons collectively would have been paid $70 million. So he spoke about labor, and the money for labor being shipped out, and the money for material being shipped out. The economy of Tobago over the last 14 months lost approximately $70 million as a result of these persons being unemployed. Because of course, had they been employed, they would have spent money on groceries, they would have spent money on perhaps entertainment, carnival fets, liming at the bars, etc. They would have spent money on food, they would have spent money on travel, getting from one location to the next, etc., etc. So what that has resulted in is a serious reduction in consumption on the island. And this is only one sector I'm talking about. There's several other sectors were impacted negatively in this way. And we must consider that, as he put it in the video, $70 million was spirited away from the Tobago economy as a result of the direct and deliberate actions of this administration. And therefore, their strategic intent is clearly to develop an economy outside of Tobago. And I will provide information later on to suggest that their strategic intent is also to benefit themselves personally. All right, so we could play the next clip.
Contracts. What is the rationale behind this?
Well,
you campaigned about a Tobago for Tobagonians. How is it then that Trinidad contractors are getting some of these huge contracts? What is the rationale behind this?
Well, it's not a rationale behind this. If you do an open tendering process or even a selective tendering process,
then you cannot stop Trinidad contractors here or there getting into the pool. That is the reality. Similarly, there are Tobago contractors that get into the pool in Trinidad, because how do you go to court and say, well, we stopped everybody who wasn't Tobagonian from bidding in these contracts? You will lose legally, because there is a right to equality of treatment, and it remains one country. And that's just one of the unfortunate things. And what has to happen is that we have to continuously build the capacity of local Tobago contractors. We have to.
So, in the most ridiculous way, and in the most coward way, the Chief Secretary cited the law as a constraint. Bring up the other document. Let me put it into the mix one time. And I want to read something for the people of Tobago. And this came straight out of the new procurement legislation that when I was Chief Secretary, and even before me, the THA had already started making arrangements to enforce and to utilize this legislation. As a matter of fact, Tobago was far ahead all the other ministries and entities in Trinidad when it came to the implementation of this piece of legislation. And Trevor James and Farley Augustine and others are quite aware of this, very much aware of this. 28.1, section 28.1 reads, a procuring entity, in this case the THA, may limit participation in procurement proceedings to promote local industry development and local content. In other words, the THA is legally empowered, morally empowered to undertake procurement decisions that will benefit Tobago and Tobagonians. So the law allows the THA to protect Tobago's interests, and it's nothing new because the PNM has been doing it for years. The Chief Secretary even used the excuse of capacity. What more capacity do you need than contractors who have been operating in the Tobago space for in excess of 10 years, paving roads, building retaining walls? Ho Choi Charles mentioned it some time ago that all the roads in Tobago, all the retaining walls, the drains, etc., were built and constructed by Tobago and Tobago-based companies.
Yeah, he did.
Employing Tobagonians. So this ridiculous excuse about courthouse, the law allows the THA, especially if you're going to use a selective arrangement, because he spoke about public tender and you can't stop Trinidadians from tendering, which is true if you have a public tender and you don't put certain provisions in place. In some cases, you may say that the company must be domiciled in Tobago, and that is quite legal to do so, because at the end of the day, you don't want a situation where contractors who have in excess of $60+ billion available to them to tender for in Trinidad, you don't want a situation where those same contractors can come to Tobago and compete for the $300 million per year that we have here in Tobago. And by the way, the entire sum of $300 million, Tobago's entire development budget, was spent out in 1 month. And all that money went to companies from Trinidad. And the excuse cannot be the law. The excuse cannot be that contractors would have taken them to court, because I just read the law, which gives the THA the authority to arrange its procurement in such a way that it will benefit Tobago and Tobagonians in order to promote local industry development, and local content. So that is absolute rubbish. It is absolute foolishness coming from the mouth of the Chief Secretary. The issue is not legislation, and the issue certainly is not capacity. I will tell you what the issue is very soon.
A political leader. We also heard in the clip with Trevor James, one of the statements he made in closing was that you cannot argue about the capacity of the Tobago contractors.
Precisely.
So he clearly indicated that Tobago contractors have the capacity to get the job done.
Precisely. right? So, as I said before, many of those contractors have been operating for 10, 15 years. I've never seen a wall collapse in Tobago on anybody. I've never seen a bridge collapse in Tobago. I've never seen any building built here in Tobago fall apart or anything like that, built by the THA. Yes, we have some pothole issues with the roads, which, by the way, most of it is as a result of WASA's infrastructure not functioning as it should. But we have capacity and we have very good contractors in Tobago who employ Tobagonians. I just gave you the figures. Between 6 contractors, they employed over 1,000 persons who also rent equipment from Tobago equipment operators. We saw recently, and I will get into that, where one of the contractors from Trinidad, they came with truck, they came with roller, they came with backhoe, and they came with manpower. To
generators as well.
Generators as well to do a project in Tobago. So clearly, Tobago is not being placed first, and we must find out why. Why will an administration who made certain promises to the people of Tobago will take such a risk? Because it is a risk. It is a great political risk to take the entire Tobago development budget of $300 million and ship it away to Trinidad. It is a great political risk to take actions that will result in unemployment for over 1,000 Tobagonians. And I'm sure if you do the total tally, the complete tally of persons who lost jobs as a result of the actions of this administration, it could very well be approximately 1,500 to 2,000 persons. Because the 1,000 persons here do not represent the entire construction sector. And there are other smaller contractors who have been affected by the actions of this administration. We even have the security contracts being shipped off to Trinidad now. We have the agriculture sector being impacted in a way because this administration, again, imagine they had a program within the THA, and instead of taking produce from the farmers in Tobago, as was done by the PNM when we were in power, they decided to bring in some Novo company who brought all the produce from Trinidad to Tobago. So Tobago has not been placed first. Tobago and Tobagonians are losing as a result of the actions taken by this administration. But it is not only a matter of people being inexperienced, as I think Hochoi Charles was saying. Hochoi Charles spoke about inexperience and they need guidance and that kind of stuff. The main problem is corruption. The main problem is that there is a criminal enterprise taking place within the division of infrastructure. And there are other divisions, but we will come to those eventually. And I think at this point in time, we must get into some of the developments taking place in the division of infrastructure. And of course, the focus will be the award of the contracts, because almost every month we get new information. The first bit of information was that a company registered 2 years ago during the pandemic that is known as a roofing company that never built a road in their life, although the secretary came to the media some time ago to tell us that this company is building or built roads in Guyana, which is a total lie. They spoke about the company having the financial capacity to do the project without money up front, which is a total lie as well. So that was the first bit of information. $54 million given to a company with 2 years experience as a general contractor to do a road in one of the most sensitive areas, environmentally sensitive areas on the island, without EMA approval. Don't forget that part, right? So that is where it started. Then we got some more information recently, which I shared with the public yesterday at a press conference. And therefore I want to share the information again. And guess what? between yesterday and today, I have some new information that I will want to put into the public domain as well. So let's go back to where it all started. Play the next video.
This is huge, because if it's one thing this administration has, let me also bring to your attention that the executive took a decision that we will have some road infrastructure, some new road infrastructure being put in time for the end of October, in time for the carnival season. And now this is bigger, this is huge, because if it's one thing this administration has been good at, is delivering on some very short timelines. And we're talking about some road infrastructure that will allow for ease of mobility even during the carnival. But these are road infrastructure challenges that we have had for the longest while. Number one, for the longest while since Hochoy Charles, there was a plan to put a road, a bypass, as it were, going from Shervan somewhere around the traffic light there and exiting out on that Strawberry Local Road to facilitate ease of transfer to the airport. That will be done in short order. In fact, I'm advised that letters of award will go out tomorrow, I believe. Letters of award will go tomorrow, and we're looking at a design bill format where the THA will pay back for these roads across a 4-year period. So with that road infrastructure from the beginning of Shervan there, all the way down, coming up, busting out to take you straight on the road to the airport, that should be done over the next month and a half. Additionally, when we go down to 4 roads, you call it. I mean, I'm a countryman, I ain't know tongue road so good. So excuse me if I don't know the correct names of the streets. Gaskin Bay Road, that's correct, Gaskin Bay Road. We're talking about what we call 4 roads down at Calvary Road Church down in the back there. We're looking to do a connector road taking you across on the other side, because what that will essentially allow for is that we will now have 2 roadways that act as almost like wings to the central artery in the middle. It means that someone will be able to get to and from the compound area on the left-hand side, going through Shervan and going all the way down. And it means someone could get all the way down on the right-hand side by going through, I think, Friendship Extension it is called, right by the garage there, and going all the way down on the right-hand side to the other extreme of Crown Point. Certainly that will assist.
This has to be one of the most blatant attempts at hoodwinking a population.
Yeah.
Here we had the Chief Secretary saying to the people of Tobago that because we have Carnival, we should find 4 roads that are considered urgent in order for us to have a successful Carnival on an island, by the way, that had several carnivals before him. Ignore all the potholes on the island. Ignore all the other roads that need urgent attention. Ignore the retaining walls that are needed as a result of the bad weather that passed, the heavy rainfall. Ignore all the road stabilization that is required. Ignore all the drainage issues. Take Tobago's entire development allocation of $300 million and find 4 roads to build. And the reason why I said that it is the most blatant attempt at hoodwinking our population is because the Chief Secretary suggested to intelligent people that his administration could build those roads in time for Carnival, which at that time was 1 month away.
In short order.
So this was really an attempt to create an emergency where there was none. So yes, we have in Carnival, but if we don't have these roads, Carnival will not be successful. and therefore we need to build these roads quickly. So that will allow us to come up with the most ridiculous procurement process, because again, we're looking for speed to build the roads in 1 month. And of course, the roads are needed for Carnival, because for some reason, when we have Carnival in Tobago, traffic in Crown Point and those areas does be a problem.
Yeah.
Traffic in Scarborough does be a problem. And also traffic in the Roxborough area does be a problem. And at one point in the press conference, he said, just in case there is an accident, you would have a secondary road.
Alternative routes, man.
An alternative route that vehicles can pass. $300 million for roads and other projects shipped away to Trinidad for the sake of roads for Carnival. But of course, I did say to the people of Tobago that there is absolutely no way these roads could be completed in 1 month. When I looked at the scope, when I looked at the approvals that were required in some cases, the EMA approvals, for example, if you're going to do any road infrastructure down in that lagoon area, there was absolutely no way that those roads could have been completed in a month's time. And when I said that, you know what was the Chief Secretary's response? Play the response.
Chief, how do you respond to the concerns raised by political leader Dennis, specifically indicating that there has been a commitment on what appears to be identified as an emergency with the target of delivering these roads by Carnival, and he's indicating specifically based on his review and assessment and seeking his technical guidance that there is no way these roads would be delivered, one, and two, he would have gone as far to post to his Facebook page a letter that would have been issued to one of the contractors where it clearly states that there's 100 that the works are to be completed within 120 calendar days, and this is dated the 7th of September. How do you respond to those concerns?
Well, number one, Mr. Dennis has no technical capabilities as an engineer. So I don't know that he has any expert knowledge on that. Secondly, one of these roads in the contract is phased, meaning that the entire roadway is not expected to be completed by Carnival. One of them is phased. Those that are critical to be completed, the phases, that are critical to be completed by Carnival will be completed by Carnival. So I don't see an issue there.
All right, I just want to go back here to the issue of the contracts. During the PDP campaign, during the election time, you campaigned about a Tobago for Tobagonians. How is it then that Trinidad contractors are getting some?
So the Chief Secretary doubled down that yes, we're going to deliver these roads for Carnival, and even if the complete project is not delivered, the phases that are important for a successful Carnival will be delivered. Tobagonians, where are those roads? Where are those roads that were promised since October Carnival? February, another Carnival is coming in February, and we still don't have the roads. And I want to give you an update. The $54 million road to Pigeon Point has not even started. You all remember that contractor who insulted a Newsday reporter?
Yeah.
And then threatened to take the reporter to court. And then when the reporter produced the recordings, we heard nothing after. You all remember the Chief Secretary giving Tobagonians a promise that he will investigate that particular contractor?
Yes, he did.
Mr. Chief Secretary, what is the status of that investigation? I am asking you now, and the minority leader will be asking that question in the right place, in a place where you all must provide the answers. You don't have to answer me, but the question will be asked in the right place. What is the status of that investigation? So that contractor with zero experience, zero resources, he was all over Tobago. My information is that he was all over Tobago looking for equipment to rent, to ensure you get the project started. I understand as well that the contractor did not have the financial resources to mobilize the project. In addition to that, there is still no EMA approval to do any road project in that sensitive area. But we come to realize that according to the law of Trevor James,
yes,
the THA does not need any approval from the EMA. So maybe that is not even a factor in their equation. But that road has not even started based on my information. The other road is the Sherburn one. The Secretary of Infrastructure told us that the contractor that they identified to do that project withdrew. He didn't tell us the reasons for the withdrawal, but that contractor withdrew. So that road has not started up to this day. The Lamy Road, that one started, but my information is that that contract is currently stopped. It was brought to a halt. And the information that I have is because the contractor is demanding some payments. And this is after the Chief Secretary said that these contractors agreed to receive 50% of the money 9 months after the delivery of the project, and the balance will be paid a further 9 months after. So, which means that these contractors should have been in a position to deliver these roads and wait 18 months for their money. And of course, we had the $19 million road that was completed
in record time
in 19 days. And I will have a lot to say about that particular project, because the people of Tobago must know what is taking place in the Division of Infrastructure. They must know how this runaway administration is spending our money and how they are shipping it away to Trinidad, not just for the benefit of an economy outside of Tobago, but also apparently for their own personal benefit.
Political leader, I want to throw something in the mix here, and the director has been cueing me as well. One of the things we pride ourselves on in the program is that when things are said on the program, we like the population to also hear it from the mouth of the, as they say, the horse's mouth. I want to throw this clip in, and the director has it queued up, because these very questions you are asking were asked in this very studio by the Tobago Updates reporter to Mr. Trevor James. And interestingly enough, I would love for you and the rest of Tobago to hear his responses.
Definitely.
Mr. Director.
And what's going on with the roads in Milford Road and the connector road that was supposed to be constructed down at Bonacor Crown Point, that area that's supposed to be an alternative access point? What are the updates on that?
I think the contractor is on the site. There seems to have been some challenges, but the team at the PMO managing the project, and I'm yet to get a report, but the contractor is on site. It's been slow. We are not entirely happy with the progress, but in these contractual matters, one has to be careful what one does, especially with FIDIC. One has to be careful what one does and how one manages these things, because it can become litigious in the final analysis. And so the staff working at it, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. And then in regards to the other one in Roxborough, Lamy Road, any updates on that as well?
That too was scheduled to be open on the 27th. The contractor had some asphalt problems as well. And hopefully in the month of February, we'll open that as well.
So excuses after excuses. We will promise roads in time for Carnival, and the roads have not been delivered. But let's play the next clip. This is a very interesting one.
That matter there. In terms of the auditing, while I have received some draft reports, and I have received some interesting draft reports, the final report is actually expected tomorrow, which is the 9th of September. The auditors...
So we're going to play that clip again, and I want the people of Tobago to pay attention to the body language of the Chief Secretary. You must be able to read people's body language, not just their words. Play the clip again.
That matter there. In terms of the auditing, while I have received some draft reports, and I have received some interesting draft reports, the final report is actually expected tomorrow, which is the 9th of September. The auditors last week gave the deadline. In fact, the auditors, I think on Friday, indicated that they want to provide that for us tomorrow, the final draft. When the final draft is provided, based on what I have seen in the draft reports, the first thing I will do is that I will be visiting some key law enforcement agencies across the country to hand deliver copies of the report. That's the first thing I will do. The second thing I will do is I will make the report public. And the third thing I will do is that I will be debating this report, putting it up for debate in the House, so that we can go through in fine detail the mess that was the emergency road resurfacing program and some of the other programs that we have. I will be making that available. Very true to form, I will be making it available. And I will say this, Tobago has to we have to correct our behaviors. And I'm talking in third person plural because I am here now. And not only that, when I'm here or not, we are all part of a systemic problem that allows that kind of behavior to fester. And I said it during the budget debate, and I'll say it again, that the same standard I'm holding for those that left before, I'm holding the same standards for this team. And I pray God that nobody on this team puts their hand in the cookie jar.
So this was the second important piece of the action. The first part was to create the perception of an emergency, to tell Tobagonians that we need roads in time for Carnival, and therefore that justified, well, it was an attempt to justify the spending of our entire development allocation, and also the ridiculous procurement process which sidelined every contractor in Tobago in favor of contractors from Trinidad. So the first act was to create that false emergency. And the second act was to totally destroy the contractors in Tobago who will normally engage in projects of that nature. And the way to destroy them is to go to the House before an audit is even completed and make statements, not just alleging, make statements, very conclusive statements, that contractors engaged in corruption, contractors inflated their prices, contractors misled the THA as it relates to the quantities of material used in those projects, and all kinds of things. Up to now, the Chief Secretary promised that audit report since, well, he said he would have received it since September the 9th. And then he would have gone to the House and debated it, which he did. And then he would have delivered copies to key agencies. Now, we heard that before with the zip line. Key agencies. And the question I have, because I'm confused, and I want to ask the auditor, Caribbean Institute of Forensic Accounting, does it normally take almost a year or more than a year to complete a forensic audit of a program? And if you promised the Chief Secretary of Tobago an audit report since September the 9th, why haven't you delivered the audit report as yet? Or perhaps you delivered it, or is it that you delivered it and the Chief Secretary chose not to release the report to the public? Chief Secretary, we want to see the report, please. We want to be able to judge for ourselves whether those contractors are as corrupt as you said they are. We want to be able to judge for ourselves whether people in the previous administration like myself should go to jail if you were guilty of corruption. Where is the audit report, Mr. Chief Secretary, that you promised to deliver to the people of Tobago since September the 9th? We are in February. Tomorrow will make it 5 months, right? And you went to the House making all kinds of conclusive statements. Where is the report? Maybe you read from your own statement, because we have not seen an audit report. Anybody could go in the House and read anything, you know, Marilyn.
Yeah.
You could write down a nice little speech and go in the House and read it.
Read it out.
And by the way, Tobagonians must know that in the legislature, before a statement is read, the presiding officer must approve the statement. The Chief Secretary, on that day when he read that statement, which he said came from this preliminary audit report, the presiding officer did not see a copy of that. The presiding officer did not approve, and I can say this without fear of contradiction. So he was given the leeway to go to the House, read the statement, right, which was purportedly the draft audit report, without even the approval of the presiding officer. I am not even sure that the assemblyman got a copy of the statement, and even had the opportunity to read WhatsApp messages that he claimed that he got from a particular individual. But notwithstanding all of that, where is the audit report? And I want to say to the people of Tobago that the audit has not been completed. Bring up the next document. So this is a letter from the administrator to one of the contractors here in Tobago who is being audited. Note that the date of this letter is the 1st of December 2022. This letter is being written after the Chief Secretary said he would have received an audit report since September the 9th.
Final report.
This letter is dated after the Chief Secretary went to the House and made very conclusive statements on the findings of the audit. And I want to read the letter for you, because the print might be too small for you to read on your screens. Reference is made. This is the administrator writing to our contractor. Reference is made to my previous letters in relation to the Forensic Audit Commission by the Tobago House of Assembly. Please be informed that the forensic auditor is desirous of receiving the following further information in relation to the projects listed in the attachment, and there were several projects. 1. Copies of the quotation proposals submitted by your company. 2. Copies of the signed contracts. And 3. Any submission of changes to the scope of works and or variations and the related extra work and cost incurred. The above requested information may be submitted to the email address or by hard copy to the address above. Kindly furnish the Office of the Administrator with the requested information by the 6th of December 2022. If you completed some aspect of your audit since September the 9th and you gave it to the Chief Secretary, to the extent where the Chief Secretary was able to go to the Tobago House of Assembly under the protection of parliamentary privilege, right, and make statements that were totally destructive to the reputation of business people here in Tobago, how is it that the same auditor is requesting now information on the 1st of December, 2 months after that, asking for information that is required, of course, to come to the same conclusions that Farley made in the Tobago House of Assembly legislature? That to me is confusing. That suggests to me, and I mean, I don't like to call people liars. I really don't like to do it. But it suggests to me that the Chief Secretary is not being honest with the people of Tobago. Because again, if you got a report, whether it's a final report or a preliminary report, right, since September the 9th.
Yeah.
Now, it had to be that you got the report because you went to the House and you claim to have been reading from a report. Where is the report? We haven't seen the report as yet. But okay, why then is the auditor still requesting information from one of the contractors? And then again, the information might have been requested from all the other contractors. We don't know. Why is the auditor still requesting information that is required to complete the audit if he in fact delivered a report to the Chief Secretary on September the 9th? So, something is amiss. Something is rather confusing. Something is fishy like a fish market. And therefore, I have to conclude, until other information comes to me to suggest otherwise, that this audit was simply designed to destroy the reputation of the Tobago contractors in an attempt to justify the selection of their friends chosen from South and Central Trinidad. It is a wicked act. It is a very vindictive and devious act, because in the first place, you should not be making any conclusive statements on any audit until the subjects of the audit were given an opportunity to respond. Right?
Correct.
Now, the other thing with the audit, one of the first actions that they took, that Trevor James took, he took some very interesting actions when he came into office. One, he sidelined the procurement officer and he hired somebody of his choosing to be the manager of procurement on short term. Secondly, he hired Mr. Philip Hiralal from Trinidad to be the director of the project management office, again on short term. No interview process. That is somebody handpicked and selected by the Chief Secretary. It is the first time in my experience in the THA, because I went into the THA in 2013, January. It is the first time in my life I saw that a politician was able to handpick the person responsible for procurement and handpick the person responsible for project management. And if that is not a dangerous precedent, then I don't know what else is dangerous. Right? So he took those actions. He also sent home the entire monitoring and evaluation unit. I understood that they also suspended the main engineer in the division. In addition to that, the administrator at the point in time was moved out of the division. So therefore, if you remove the key people who could provide the information, who could provide the documents, who could answer the questions that the auditor may have, how do you expect to complete an audit fairly? How do you expect to complete an audit properly without those individuals involved? So, as a reasonable right-thinking person, and I think any other reasonable right-thinking person will have to conclude that something is amiss with this audit, because we keep getting promises on the date. The audit going to be completed in March. The audit going to be completed in May. The audit going to be completed in September. You went to the house and said, yes, I have the report, and I'm reading from this report. We ain't see the report that you read from up to now, right? And lo and behold, the auditor is asking for further information. So therefore, without that information, or without a response from the contractors you're making the allegations against, how then did you come to these very conclusive, damaging statements? So therefore, the intent, I will have to sadly conclude, was not to have a fair audit, but the intent was simply to justify their evil actions. And that is why this evening I am here exposing this conspiracy. Play the next video, please.
The processes we have implemented is one where we have sat down, the staff at the PMO sat down with a bag of 40 contractors. They developed a logical framework matrix, a modified version of that, with 20 assessments. And out of that, we've selected contractors to which we can ask for selective contracting.
All right.
So we accuse them of doing exactly what I described, inviting their chosen and selected friends from South and Central Trinidad to benefit from the heritage of Tobago in a particular way. They came and they said, no, that is not true. We did not utilize Soul Select. As the secretary put it, they had a bag of 40 contractors. 40. I hope it wasn't an actual bag. But they had a bag of 40 contractors. Play the next video.
One of the documents may be valid, and the Secretary of Infrastructure will give broader explanation. But I assure you that no one was so selected. And in the case of these contracts, the executive gave the division, and rightfully so, the authority to use its procurement mechanism, to use its project managers, to use its technical expertise to determine what's the fastest way to get these contracts done. And I assure you the division did not use its Soul Select mechanism to get the contracts done. In fact, I am advised that 40 plus contractors were evaluated. That was then brought down to 7, and out of the 7, 3 were selected. Secondly, one must
let me ask you.
So 40 plus, according to the Chief Secretary, 40 plus contractors. The Secretary said it was a bag of 40. The minority leader asked a question in the right place, because there's a place where you could ask questions and they are duty bound to answer. I could ask any question here and they could ignore me, but they can't ignore you in the House.
Correct.
So the minority leader asked a question since September. We accuse you of soul selecting. You said you didn't soul select. Show us your 40 contractors so that we will put our tail between our legs and perhaps apologize for lying on you. Show us the list of 40 contractors. Trevor ducked the minority leader from October, November, 2 months. As a matter of fact, he gave a response that was a non-response. One of the most ridiculous and arrogant responses to a question I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then he finally responded in December, because in the House you could run but you can't hide it. As long as you have a proper presiding officer, then you have to answer the question. On those years, Hackett told the presiding officer sometime when she asked, do you have an answer to the question? She just said no.
No.
But you have to answer the questions put to you in the House. So he attempted to run, but he couldn't hide. So let's see the response given by the Secretary of Infrastructure. Bring up the next document, please. So December the 14th, 2022, again, this question was asked in September. An administration that promised to be transparent. And if you promise transparency, you should be eager to answer questions. We shouldn't have to wait 2 months to get a response to a very simple question. But my information is that they were trying to concoct a list. So here is the response, and I will ignore certain parts of it where they repeated the question. So let's get to the response. A description of the procurement process utilized by the division in the selection of contractors and subsequent award of contracts. Response: the division invited 3 to 6.
Not 40.
Not 40, eh? 3 to 6 suitably qualified firms registered with the THA. That is line number 1. Because when we did our homework, none of the contractors that were awarded contracts were registered with the THA. Not one of them. The roofing company was not registered with the THA. The stucco company was not. And it's strange that we have roofing companies and stucco companies building roads in Tobago. Yeah. None of them were registered with the THA. So that is an absolute lie. Then, of course, he went on to say these firms obtained the required tender documents from the division, attended the site visits, and submitted their bids by the closing date. A division evaluation team analyzed the bids and made a recommendation. Subsequently, letters of award and contract signing were executed through the administrator. All right? Then we asked him for a list of the contractors invited by the division to participate in the process. We have here Kai Engineering and Construction Limited as one of the contractors, and that is a Tobago contractor. And Kai, by the way, is one of the more experienced contractors on the island, especially if you're talking about road paving.
Yeah.
So you have Kai Engineering and Construction. Thank God we had a Tobago contractor in the mix. Innovative Roofing, Construction Services and Supplies Limited, Premier General Services Limited, California Stucco Company Limited, Namalco Construction Services Limited, RJB Building and Civil Engineering Contractors Limited, Delta Construction, all of them from Trinidad, except the one Tobago contractor. Right? And of course, he said who the projects were awarded to. So we heard that the Pigeon Point project was awarded to the roofing company.
Yeah.
That never started, and all those documents are in the public domain. We shared it before. The Lamy Road one was awarded to Construction Services and Supplies, struggling to complete the project. All kinds of shoddy works taking place up there. And of course, the $19 million one. Well, before I get to that, the Sherman one, the secretary told us in the response that that project was awarded to Namalco, and Namalco withdrew.
Yeah.
And because of that withdrawal, they have to find another contractor to do the project. But interestingly, the Secretary of Infrastructure told us, the people of Tobago, that the Dutchford Road project was awarded to California Stucco. Line number 2. So let's really examine that particular project, because some interesting things happened with that project. Pull up the next document. So here we have a request for proposal coming from the procurement manager going to a prospective tenderer dated August the 2nd. And of course, that is simply asking the contractor to submit a proposal, and it has the scope of works, the design and construction of approximately 1,142 meters of roadway, which starts from the intersection of the Mount Mary, etc., etc., etc. So that went out on August the 22nd. However, something interesting happened at that point in time, because although the secretary lied to us and told us that that contract was awarded to California Stucco, that is not the truth, you know. That contract was actually awarded to Namalco, and I will show you proof of that shortly. Bring up the next document. So here we have a second RFP for the same project, same scope of works, etc. So if you put out an RFP in August the 22nd, how come a month later you're putting out another RFP for the same project? It has to be that either you didn't get any responses to the first RFP, or you selected somebody to do the contract and that person probably withdrew.
Yeah.
So it's one of two things again. Either you couldn't find anybody to do the contract, so you're sending out another RFP to look again, or you found somebody and the person you found is no longer interested. That is the only reason why we'll put out a second RFP for the same scope, because nothing changes, not a totally different project. Of course, if you send out your first RFP and you realize, well, we forget something, it's not 1142 meters, it's 2,000 meters. Then you may have to review your scope and put out another RFP. So we had 2 RFPs going out for this one project, same scope, no change to the scope. One went out August the 22nd, the other one went out September the 30th. But we'll find out what transpired. Bring out the next document. So here is a document, a letter. And this letter is now telling us what Trevor did not tell us. And I want to thank the whistleblower from the division who decided that enough is enough and it is high time that they stand in defense of Tobago and Tobago's interests. And I want to thank that person for, being patriotic enough to provide this documentation to me. So this document tells us the entire story. It tells us, one, that Trevor lied when he told us that this company was awarded the Dutchford project. So he misled the House. He did not provide complete information to the House. And I want to tell the minority leader tonight to give strong consideration to referring the Secretary of Infrastructure to the Privileges Committee of the House for misleading the House with his response on December the 14th. So here is this letter coming from California, Stocko. Just minimize it a bit so the people could see the letterhead. Well, actually, the signature is at the bottom. Right, so it's coming from California Stocko Company Limited. The company is from Warner Village, Charlieville, Trinidad, and they are writing to Philip Hiralal, the Director of Project Management in the THA, not the procurement officer. He's writing to the Director of Project Management. And it is a very interesting letter because in that letter, well, let's read it.
Yeah.
Dear Sir, we are writing to notify you that it has come to our attention through the public domain that Namalco Construction Services Limited has withdrawn from the project. And you would see the description of the project is the exact project that Trevor told us was awarded to California Stocko. So now we are getting the true picture that the project was in fact initially awarded to Namalco Construction Services. So he told us in his response that Namalco was awarded the Shervan project and they withdrew. He should have told us in his response as well that Namalco was also awarded the Dutchford project and they withdrew. And we found another contractor who is California Stocko. But you know why he didn't tell us that? Because of the circumstances surrounding the selection of this contractor. Because here it is. He's saying to us that it came to their attention through the public domain that Namalco withdrew from the project. If it was in the public domain, right? How come the other contractors who were shortlisted, because they say they had the bag of 40 and they bring it down to 7. So even if you want to keep it among your friends of 7 and you want to be a union contractor, even if you want to keep it in that little circle, how come the other contractors didn't hear about this in the public domain?
In the same public domain.
I didn't hear about it. You didn't hear about it.
I didn't hear.
Anybody on the Facebook Live heard about Namalco withdrawing from any project in Tobago in the public domain? So clearly, people don't know what is the public domain. So it cannot be that it was in the public domain because all of us would have heard it.
Yes.
I am now putting it into the public domain. Right? So, therefore, we were invited to enter into negotiation for the award of the design, build, and finance of the reference project via email sent on the 22nd of September 2022. So you heard about it in the public domain, but you were also invited. You didn't tell us who invited you. You heard about it in the public domain, and then you were invited to tender for this project. And guess what? That figure of $61.06 is the exact figure that was submitted by Namalco in his proposal. Now, if that is not
to the cents,
if that is not collusion, if that is not bid rigging, if that is not corruption, then I don't know what is. Bring up the letter, let me finish it. As requested, we are willing to complete the project, and he said here, for the said sum of 19,400,000. So for the said sum, wait, for the said sum that was in the public domain. And if our negotiated price is accepted, we guarantee you, it gets even more interesting, we guarantee you that we can adhere to our schedule to complete the revised scope of works on or before the scheduled date for completion listed above, based on the fact, Tobagonians, I want all to hear this, based on the fact that our company is pre-mobilized to complete the works specified. So you were not awarded another project, eh? This company wasn't awarded another project. Now, had you been awarded another project and you mobilized for that project, then that will explain why you were pre-mobilized. But if that is the only project you were awarded in Tobago that you mysteriously found out about in the public domain, and that in the public domain as well, you discovered the price, and you said that you were prepared to do the project for the said price that you found out in the public domain, and you were pre-mobilized to do this project, it had to be, for any sensible right-thinking person, it had to be that this contractor was well aware, given some assurance, given some guarantee that he was going to be given this project. It had to be that this contractor was handpicked, soul selected to do that particular project. I want to say to Farley and Trevor and the rest of the independents, stop misleading Tobagonians. Stop lying to Tobagonians. The truth always comes out. There are people within the Tobago House of Assembly who will not support this kind of corrupt activity, who will not support the sellout of Tobago's resources, who will not support, as Trevor put it, the spiriting away of Tobago's patrimony to places outside of Tobago, especially in circumstances where you all promised to put Tobago and Tobagonians first. So here we have this brutal conspiracy conducted by this criminal empire in the Division of Infrastructure to, first of all, create an emergency to justify the spending of our entire development budget in 1 month on roads for Carnival, when we have potholes forevermore in Tobago, when we had retaining walls required as a result of bad weather. Secondly, this, well, I guess I have to call it a ghost audit or a never-ending audit, where the Chief Secretary of Tobago was prepared to make very conclusive and damaging statements, destroying the reputation of Tobagonians. You're already not paying them, eh? More than a year passed, they can't get paid. Banks calling them, banks down the throat. They had to send home the staff. 900 and something staff they had to lay off as a result of that. So you're trying to destroy them by their bank accounts, and there you were in the House in September making very damaging statements even before the audit was completed. So, second part of the conspiracy, in order to pave the way so that they could conduct the affairs of their criminal enterprise coming from the Division of Infrastructure. And they claim to have an evaluation committee, you know, and I want to ask the question, and I know the minority leader will ask in the place that they have to answer the question. Who were the members of this evaluation committee? Because I have a very strong suspicion that there were only 3 individuals involved in this tendering process, and that the administrator was simply used as a rubber stamp to sign off on the letters of awards. And I want to caution administrators, because these people have already signaled. It's the first administration I'm seeing doing this, that they will throw public servants under the bus. And they will blame you for things that even they are responsible for. So you can imagine what they will do when it comes to things that you, the administrators, are responsible for. Administrators, cross your I's, cross your T's, and dot your I's. Do not allow secretaries, especially those that are arrogant, those that are hell-bent on being corrupt, do not allow them to bully y'all, because at the end of the day, y'all are the accounting officers and you will have to take responsibility. Because I find it strange that an administrator will issue letters of award in these kinds of questionable circumstances. Bring up the last document. And we came now to the letter of award. Because,
very interesting.
Because the proposal in the previous letter, the guy said he submitted his proposal on the 6th of October. So you mysteriously found out that the selected contractor pulled out in the public domain. But the public only included you because you were the only person that heard. And following that, you submitted your proposal on the 6th of October, as said here in this document. And then by the 7th, you have a letter of award signed by the administrator. And then by the 8th, which was a Saturday morning, I remember it clearly.
Yes.
Because you were pre-mobilized. You were driving off the boat with equipment to benefit from Tobagonians. $1 million per day. A $19 million road in 19 days. But we will examine the scope of that road on another occasion, because there are other issues there to be revealed to the people of Tobago. So, I have shared with you all that information. You, the people of Tobago, must draw your own conclusions. But I also intend to take some action, because as I said in my opening statements, that as political leader of the PNM in Tobago, and as somebody with some level of public responsibility, and more importantly, as a resident of Tobago, I will do everything in my power to protect Tobagonians, to protect my island, and to protect our interests. And therefore, I am calling on the Chief Secretary to act as he is empowered by the Tobago House of Assembly Act to act. He must act now and revoke the appointment of Trevor James because of these scandalous, corrupt dealings that is taking place in the Division of Infrastructure. And failure to act and act soon will cause me, and I'm sure other right-thinking Tobagonians, to conclude that he is in support of this kind of action that is taking place within the Tobago House of Assembly. I am also prepared to write, as political leader, I am going to write to each independent. Had it been a political party, Maryland, I would have written to the political
party,
leader
and
said, hello, these members of your organization are acting in ways that are inimical to Tobago's interests. And as political leader, you need to act. But there is no political party. And therefore, each independent has to be treated like a separate entity unto themselves. So technically, there are 16 political parties, well, 17. Well, 18.
Yes.
16 independents. That is a political party each. The PNM and Watson Duke is still PDP. So I'm going to write to the 16 independents who hold positions of secretaries and assistant secretaries. And I'm going to ask them to consider the information, because I will send the information to them. And then they must use their independent powers and think for themselves and decide for themselves if they are in support of this kind of behavior as displayed by this secretary and other persons within his division operating under his watch. We must not sit idly by as Tobagonians. And I know their supporters are going to talk all sorts of things about 21 years of PNM, and I will not even, again, justify the PNM's track record. The PNM's track record is there for all to see.
Yes.
Any honest individual who drives through or walks through or flies over Tobago will see the development that took place in Tobago over the last 21 years.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I saw some comments coming out of the Rocks Room meeting, and some people indicated that some of the issues were long-standing issues. And I said that in the campaign. I said that PDP will pass through. PDP could spend 10 years. I will wish they do spend another day, and it's not even PDP again, it's independence. But they could spend 10 years, and they will leave, and there will be still issues, long-standing issues to be fixed. You and I will die.
No time soon.
Go to our graves. No time soon. God's willing. Go to our graves.
And there will still be issues.
And there will still be issues to fix.
Yeah.
The year 2050 will come. And some of the issues that we did not fix in our lifetime will still be waiting on somebody else to come and fix it. And that is the nature of development. And I said that during the campaign trail when they came with their ridiculous slogan, let me fix this, let me fix this, let me fix this. As if there is some kind of magic wand that you could just wave and snap your finger and fix everything.
Yeah.
I said development is a journey. But I'm not going to penalize them for the things that they are not able to fix. I mean, the people of Tobago ought to expect them to deliver on their promises, because that is what campaigns and that is what governance is about. You go to the electorate, you promise certain things, they elect you based on those promises, then go and deliver the promises.
Correct.
But I will understand if, you know, at the end of the term, people who ask for drains to be fixed, still waiting on the drain to be fixed. I will understand if all the potholes are not fixed. I will understand if the $1 billion Scarborough development project doesn't get off the ground. I will not understand corruption. So the actions of Trevor James and other operatives within the Division of Infrastructure are, in my opinion, corrupt, and the people of Tobago must not sit idly by and allow that to continue. It is not in Tobago's interest. It is totally destructive to the economy of Tobago and to the fabric of Tobago's society. And we must not sit idly by and allow that to happen. So again, I will write to the independents, as they must be treated as individual political entities. I will provide this evidence to them and ask them if they support this kind of behavior. And we in the PNM will also cause these matters to be referred to the relevant agencies, starting with the Integrity Commission.
Wow. Quite a lot has been shared here this evening. I want to keep my word as well to our listeners to open the lines for a very short time. I know persons are at the edge of their seats and their beds in front of your TVs and online. So I'll ask the director just to pull up the numbers again quickly. If you are desirous of calling in and commenting on the information or even asking a question, I will give you those numbers to call. We have 284-6597. That is 284 6597, and the other number to call is 356-8833. That's 356-8833. And I mean, we would have listened, we would have heard, we would have seen with our own eyes. And that is the beauty of this program. This is not a program for old talk. This is not a program where we come, 2 and 3 of us, and just ramble on about things going on in the division and laugh and joke around. No, this is a serious program that continues to present irrefutable facts to the people of Tobago so that you can come to your own conclusion. And as you indicated, there are those who will clamor. There are those who will attempt to cuss and carry on. And what my observation has been is that the people who are most vociferous in defending the wrongs against the people of Tobago are the people who are benefiting.
Correct.
From this administration.
Correct. Right. But there are a group of right-thinking Tobagonians. These are the people that we are speaking to. We are not necessarily talking to individuals who are prepared to defend this kind of scandalous behavior because it's their political party and it's their time now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we have someone. I'll ask callers to be brief, be respectful, and to the topic. Okay, we lost that one. I'm just looking at some of the comments. Someone says here, my jaw drop. He referred to his jaw dropping almost off his face. A number of persons here expressing their extreme horror. A number of persons thanking you for providing this information.
And I must thank the whistleblower. Because
Yes.
had it not been for the whistleblower, all of us would have been in the dark. Because, I mean, unless you ask questions in the house, and unless you know what is taking place, you may not know what questions
To ask.
And unless you use the Freedom of Information Act. And sometimes the Freedom of Information requests are being ignored. I think in some cases you're all waiting several months.
Yes, a couple months now.
To get some answers on certain things.
When
So
the law stipulates 30 days.
Correct. And I want to thank the whistleblowers who, when they see wrong things, they are prepared to speak up and share the information. And I want to encourage all public servants to do the same.
Yes.
Whenever wrong is being done, share the information. We will, of course, investigate it. We have to verify the information, and then we are prepared to speak on the information and even take the action that we can possibly take to prevent that kind of behavior from happening. The Chief Secretary spoke about, God forbid, he hopes nobody puts their hand in the cookie jar. I suspect that the cookie jar has been breached.
Okay, we have a caller. Caller, good evening. Evening. Okay, apparently the call isn't connecting. I hope it's not a technical glitch on our end.
Yeah. So I want to again appeal to public servants.
Yeah.
Don't just sit by and allow these things to happen. Share the information, blow the whistle, send the information to me, and I am prepared to come and speak to it publicly. Send the information to the minority leader, send the information to the minority councillor. If it's very urgent and it's a clear criminal act, call the police. But as for me, as for the minority leader and for us as a team, your identity will be protected. So do not be afraid to blow the whistle on these corrupt, spiteful, and vindictive and wicked individuals.
And folks, let me also say that in like manner as we have seen a lot of revelation take place today, we intend to continue, and I'm echoing the sentiments of the minority leader. Next stop is $17 million breakdown on the spend
For Carnival.
for the October Carnival.
That is going to be an interesting one, because
Yes.
I am hearing of a particular individual who has 2 jobs in the THA.
Yes.
And is also a consultant with a THA agency.
Yes, being paid large sums of money. We have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Are you hearing me?
Okay, I'm hearing you.
Hello?
Could you speak up a bit?
Hello? Hello?
Hearing you. Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, caller.
Hello? Okay.
Caller, we're hearing you.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. Okay. I just want to make it. Yeah, are you hearing me clearly now?
Yes.
I just want to be quick. Hello?
Go ahead. Only the 4th caller we lost. Mr. Director?
Listen on the phone, not the device.
Okay, callers, we're asking that you listen on the phone. Don't listen into your device what you're watching the program on. Listen on your telephone that you are making the call on. Once you are listening the device on the program, then chances are you're not going to be hearing us and we won't be connecting properly. So when you call, you can walk away from the device to ask your question. So as we were saying before that call came in, next stop, $17 million spend for Carnival 2022. And as you would have indicated, there's not just that individual, but it was so shocking to see, to start with, that particular individual has 2 jobs in the THA. And then is being paid as a consultant in the Carnival.
And you see, we're noticing a pattern. We're noticing a pattern of individuals who, when the PNM was in power, they would comment on social media, they will do Facebook Lives, and they will claim to be patriots who want the best
for Tobago,
and who wants to see Tobago move forward, and all these niceties. And now look at them.
Okay, yes. We have a caller on the line. Hello.
Hi, good night to the panel. Political leader. Good night.
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
So, good night. I just want to compliment my political leader, Mr. Ansel Dennis. This is your minority leader here. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for...
I knew the voice sound familiar, man.
On behalf of the people of Tobago, we want to thank you for really coming forward and, you know, bringing light to some of the issues that are plaguing the people of Tobago, the rampant corruption in the division of infrastructure and across the THA. So we really, really thank you for coming on the show tonight and bringing those issues to bear and bringing it to light in such eloquent ways that you have done so tonight.
Thank you very much, Minority Leader. I think we have another caller. I was hearing it beeping. Okay. We're asking that person you can call back. We can only take 1 call at a time. So if you call in and you're hearing the phone ringing as we would hear it beeping, you just have to wait until that call has ended and then you can just call back. So the numbers are 284-6597, 356-8833. You were speaking about that individual.
Yeah, yeah.
One of many, I should say.
So yeah, they claim to want the best for Tobago, when in fact they simply wanted an opportunity to raid the treasury. As we're seeing here now, you have 2 jobs in the THA.
Yes.
Consultancy fees, and suddenly you're quiet.
Hi, caller, good evening.
Hi, good night.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, yeah. So, based on what has been stated so far, and the fact that it has backup, it has a paper trail per se, my question would be, what is the next move? Can something be done legally? If this criminal act can actually be documented, can something actually be done in terms of somehow recuperating the money that that has gone out, or bringing somebody to account? How does that work? That's my question.
All right, so to respond to that, we are prepared to write to the Chief Secretary.
We have another caller.
And we'll take the other call.
We'll take the other call,
and then I'll
respond.
respond.
Good night, caller.
Yes, hi, good night. Good night.
Good evening. You can go ahead.
Yes, let me tell Tobagonians something, eh? You see the thing called heritage, called legacy? When you give away your legacy, when all your business closed down, when other people come in and they take over everything, there will be nothing left for your children. So all you sit down and smile and wave and don't think about all your future generation. You understand? This is a time to stand up and say enough is enough. This has nothing to do with political party per se, you know. This has to do with good governance. This has to do with people doing what they said they will do. And I cannot take on a lion spirit. You see, a lion spirit is vex even God. You understand? And Tobagonians have to stand up for Tobago business, Tobago contractors, Tobago people, Tobago small business, Tobago farmers. Because if everything goes to Trinidad and certain Trinidadians, what all you will have left? Sit down and think. It's not about who all you like, rather, and prefer. It's all your children in the mix. So grow up as a people and stop grinning.
Well said. I think we have another call on the line. Okay, that one dropped off. You can call back. Caller, we still have just a couple minutes.
Well, let me just respond to a couple of things. The last caller made a very important point, because at the end of the day, yes, as the Chief Secretary said in the very first clip that we played, we welcome investment. We welcome the involvement of outsiders. But the PNM's position has always been that where there is opportunities that can be done by Tobagonians, whether it be projects, etc., Tobagonians must benefit from those opportunities. Correct. In some cases, we recognize that we will have to include persons from outside of Tobago, and yes, under the PNM, there were cases where Trinidad contractors got jobs. But of course, those were in projects where there were public tenders. And of course, in a public tender, Trinidadians can tender and win those projects, especially if you don't have the capacity in Tobago. But when you have your road paving exercise and your building of drains and your agricultural programs and your security needs, all of which can be done by Tobagonians.
Right.
All those opportunities are things that can be done by Tobagonians right here in Tobago. We in the PNM never took God out of our thoughts and took the Tobagoness out of our spirits and made decisions such as those. And I find it to be an act of treason that individuals could go on the campaign trail, make those promises, and come now and do the exact opposite.
We have another call on the line. Hello, caller. Good evening.
Good night, gentlemen.
Hello, caller. Good evening.
Yeah, hello. Are you hearing me?
Sure, go ahead.
Beautiful. Now, listening to what Ansel is revealing from since yesterday and with what we're hearing tonight, this is something that every right-thinking person in Tobago, even if you belong to a party opposed to the PNM, particularly this party that, or this group of people that is running the island, you must have some bit of concern because this is serious thing. This is why here is unprecedented, right? They might have some of the people who might be in denial on the live and trying to challenge or rubbish some of the things that are being heard. But this is not a puppy show because a number of documentations are presented to prove that what is happening in Tobago is worthy of being investigated by the law. You understand? This is a serious thing, and we cannot, because we hate the PNM so much, accept this as normal. This is unlike what the chief secretary did by going in the house, using the cloak of the house to scandalize people. Right? This was done outside of such a protection because there were documents to prove it, and we had to stop being so immature and backward because of a dislike for the PNM. This is a serious thing. And I hope that the media, both in Tobago and in Trinidad, gives this the kind of coverage that it deserves. Because I don't think we get enough of that, especially when it comes from the PNM. Something is wrong. The PNM has never had friends in the media, but we don't need friends. What we need is people who operate as professionals who want to get the truth out for the benefit of all citizens of this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Colm Imbud once said to a fellow parliamentarian, if your name man, come outside.
Yes.
I am outside. I have no house to hide in. And therefore, I didn't come here to just make statements. I came here because I had information, and I had information that I believe to be evidence of wrongdoing within a particular division. So who wants to sue me could sue me. I await. I don't only have courthouse clothes, but I also have courthouse evidence. All right? And I also want to address, well, the other guy has courthouse clothes. I'm not sure if he has courthouse evidence.
Clearly he doesn't. We're waiting on it since September.
Correct. But I want to address something else that was said by another caller when she spoke about, Tobago and Tobago businesses. We must recognize the fact that these contractors are all Tobagonians. Now, in Tobago, some of us tend to be very jealous-minded, where we don't like to see other individuals doing better than us. So sometimes I see the ridiculous statements which suggest that those Tobago contractors got enough. Come on, so because they operated for years and became successful, it means now that they must be destroyed to facilitate the interests of persons outside of Tobago, and not just destroyed, but destroyed unfairly.
Yeah.
To facilitate not just the interests, but to facilitate the interests corruptly of persons outside of Tobago. So these are individuals who spent years, who possibly started with nothing.
Yeah.
There are some contractors who I know that started off with nothing, started from the ground. No parents, no family to benefit from. They started the companies from the ground up. Other business persons in Tobago as well, who I know started from the ground up, started off as very small businesses, and they grew, they competed, they built their capacity, they went to the bank blanked them sometimes, bank welcomed them sometimes, they did projects. Some of the projects may not have been good as others, some they finished within time, some may have had time overruns and cost overruns. But they built themselves, they developed themselves, they built capacity over many, many years. Some started off with box drains. They reached the stage where they're paving roads and building massive retaining walls. So people spent all these years working hard, developing their business, to come now for few individuals to take actions, vindictive, wicked, unjust, and unfair actions to totally destroy those businesses.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could have swallowed that at all.
That is their interpretation of
So I empathize with those contractors. I empathize with the security companies. I empathize with the farmers who put produce in the ground, who worked hard in the farms, and then to watch the THA, to watch Tadco bring another company from outside of Tobago, give them this project to do, and to watch them go down with the boat, take produce that we have in Tobago, and bring it up to Tobago, from Trinidad to Tobago, to give to Tobagonians. And our farmers have the same produce rotting in the ground. Or maybe some of them were able to sell it successfully. That cannot be right. And you know it's not right when one of their own supporters, who is a farmer, had to call them out on the nonsense.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, he understands that this is not about politics. This is about Tobago and Tobago people's business. So I think I've said enough, you know.
Yes. I am looking at the director for a queue. We have a call on the line? Okay, good. So folks, let me firstly thank the political leader for taking of his time and coming here and exposing the conspiracy that we have. Some of us have been in the dark about. Some of us may have just heard things bantering around in the media, in the public domain, but never really getting to the facts. And I think that enough evidence have been produced here this evening. And as the old saying goes, evidence that demands a verdict. And I want to thank you for taking the time, not just to be here this evening, because anybody could see that this took a lot of research, a lot of time and effort. The delivery, as all of us in Tobago have come to appreciate, we know that once you stand in front of a microphone, the articulate type flow always comes, and I guess that is from being a preacher as well. But I really want to say thank you, and on behalf of the minority leader and minority council, as well as all of Tobago, many of whom are commenting on the chat, really in appreciation for this information. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this journey. And I deliberately didn't say the word struggle. It is a journey that we are now embarking on, and thank you for leading the way in presenting this type of information. And obviously, I know that you would expect that we would also make some more demands on your time in the future. I think you would have said once a month at least, or once every 2 months?
At least. But I will only speak when I have something to say.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. Folks, viewers, I want to thank you very importantly for the support that we've received tonight on this program, for your comments. And as I always say, the Minority Report, Political Leader, is one of the, I think, the most viewed program in Tobago. Though you may have seen 200 and probably about 45 persons on the live tonight, what I can guarantee, and we would have checked, is that as soon as the program ends, the entire administration logs on to this program to hear what we would have said.
There is an air of fear gripping the island, where people don't want to be seen viewing particular programs.
Exactly.
People don't want to be seen liking posts from particular individuals, commenting on posts from particular individuals. People tell me all the time, I just get your things on them, I just get the stuff that you share, and I agree with it, but don't expect me to comment or like it. I want to protect my THA work.
Yeah, that is the fear that has been instilled. But I would say this evening that weeping may endure for a night.
But joy comes in the morning.
But joy comes in the morning. And this, I send this out to everyone in this administration who have given yourself to be part of this destruction of Tobago and Tobago's economy, and more importantly, the people of Tobago. Everyone who has set themselves to oppress the people of Tobago, to take, and I'll use their quote, they have failed to deal with bread and butter issues. And the minority leader put it well when he said they eaten lamb and steak, and the bread and butter issues have not been dealt with. And I speak for every individual who is experiencing some level of oppression, who would have been terminated, who would have had their contracts not renewed after years of service, whose salaries are being delayed. And we will not give up this journey that we are on to bring back Tobago to a place of right standing with good governance, where the right persons under God, not those who pretend to know God, but the right persons under God, will continue to build Tobago in the manner that it should be built. I want to say good evening. I want to say thank you, and we look forward to your continued support. Stay tuned. Next week, Tuesday, we will make our announcement as to what we are going to be doing. But the Minority Report will continue to be strong and continue to progress. Have a good evening, folks.
Good evening, everyone.